Alright, so I've been seeing the Amazing Digital Circus everywhere. And even my sister has heard about this thing. And that's truly embarrassing. You guys wouldn't understand. So I decided that once the final releases, I'm going to be making a video on it. And that time has come. So in today's video, we're going to be going over the Amazing Digital Circus, all 9 episodes. And hopefully try my best to explain it as best as I can without sounding like a LARPer. And with that said, please subscribe. Pomni just kind of shows up. She's like my sister during Thanksgiving. And for reasons I'm going to call her Pomni before she gets her name. There's a whole bunch of losers here. Pomni tries to rip off her face because she thinks it's a headset on. Pomni asks where she is and who they are. And Ragatha tells him that this is normal and that they've all been through it. And then we hear the most forced swear ever. Actually, it was not a swear since it was censored, but you know, whatever. Then they go into the Hasbin Hotel row and start swearing every single second. Then Pomni asks how she can leave. Spoiler alert, they can't! They can't leave! They're stuck here! What a bunch of losers! Couldn't be me! Jax tells Pomni that they've been here a pretty long time, while Kinger has been here the longest. And apparently, he's crazy! Pomni chooses to try to gaslight herself into believing this is a dream. But it isn't. Anyways, Jax asks Caine if they're gonna do an adventure for Pomni. But Caine wants to show Pomni around first. And Caine recites the Epstein files. He shows her the grounds and the void. They don't go into the void. Pomni spots a door, but Caine sends her back to the tent. That's Bubble. Pomni tells everybody that there was an exit out there, but none of them believe her, and Caine writes it off as a digital hallucination. He asks Pomni what her name is, and Pomni freaks out because she doesn't remember what her real name was. So they come up with a new one, and let Danny Mata tell you what the name was. But they don't go for that one, and eventually settle for Pomni. They start a new adventure called Gather the Gloinks. That's a funny word. That's a fun word, Gloinks. Anyways, the Gloinks. Oh my god, the Gloinks. They take anything that they can. And it is their job to figure out how to stop it. Zooble does not want to do the adventure, but gets stolen by the Gloink. The Gloinks also steals Kinger's pillow fort. Ragatha asks Kinger if they want to go check on Cosmo with them, and he says no. Reason being, he's been going crazy about an exit. Anyways, Jax, Ragatha, and Pomni are going to go see Cosmo, while Gangle and Kinger goes to save Zooble. They show Pomni the rooms, which they do not need to sleep in, but they do it anyways to not make themselves crazy. And it turns out Pomni already has a room. How convenient. Ragatha goes on and on and on about how something bad will happen if they go crazy. Anyways, they reach Cosmo's room. Pomni is still going insane. And they ring the doorbell, which nobody responds. So Jax shows that he has a key to his room and then opens the door. They realize that Cosmo has abstracted. And just like my dad, Jax is out of there. Doesn't want nothing to do with it. Cosmo throws Ragatha around, and in her time of need, Pomni kind of bails on her. Back with Kinger and Gangle, Jax finds them and says that Cosmo is A-okay. He plays bowling with Kinger and Gangle. Get a little laugh, boy. Bro got a double strike. I said he got a strike. I said strike. They find the Gloink Queen. This is where they drag Zooble. Pomni looks for Caine to help Ragatha deal with Cosmo. The Glorp Queen is just yapping about something about how being royalty is amazing and some, I don't know. You know, if you ask me, that does not sound like a queen. Anyways, they find Zooble. Jax refuses to help because Zooble is just not nice to him. So Kinger and Gangle play rock, paper, scissors with Kinger winning. And he grabs Zooble's head, but you know, his hands isn't attached, so Zooble gets eaten. Pomni sees how she looks for the first time, but that gets interrupted by Cosmo. While hiding and running away from Cosmo, Pomni finds an exit, enters it, and ends up in a little labyrinth or whatever you want to call it, that makes her end up into the void. And Caine has to go save her. At the same time, Cosmo lands on the Glorp Queen and spits out Zooble. Jax, Kinger, Gangle, and Zooble all leave, and Caine deals with Cosmo. Then we learn that there's been a whole bunch of abstractions that have already happened. Anyways, that's episode 1. Jeez, 4 minutes just for one episode is insane. I think that's the longest that we've ever done it. Oh yeah, Caine restores Ragatha and Pomni. And the episode officially ends with them eating food. I know my sister must be here somewhere. They don't even need to eat!
Why don't you leave this to me before I start thinking your hair looks like licorice?
Jax!
Not even a minute in, and Pomni's already having the worst day of her life. Reminds me of when I woke up and stepped on a nail on accident, and it hurt really bad. I still have the scar, actually. The dream was about her abstracting, but she eventually wakes up, and Ragatha is instantly at her door, talking about, I forgive you for leaving me. It's not a big deal. Yeah. Like, shut up! No one likes you! Caine tells them the next adventure, which is Candy Carrier Chaos. He really is an AI, isn't he? Basically, this adventure is GTA 6. Before GTA GTA 6, by the way. This adventure, they are tasked to retrieve the maple syrup that has been stolen by 3 bandits. Gangle has to drive the truck because Jax does not like the horn. They find the bandits and use Pomni as a bridge, which that fails. Good one, Jax. To escape them, the bandits go off-road, but they follow them and even ram their vehicle, which they try to stop with spikes on the edge. To get Pomni, Kinger froze an anchor, but it's not attached to anything. The bandits ram them, making all the spikes go into Ragatha. Then they spiral out of control, sending everybody but Pomni and Gummy Goo into a chocolate ocean. Pomni and Gummy Goo no-clip out of the map. Then Gummy Goo questions his own existence because he just found out that he's an NPC and that his life basically just doesn't matter. Jax and Friends meets the Fudge, who wants to eat them but can't because they're not candy. The Fudge was exiled from the kingdom due to eating too many of the candy folk. Jax offers them a key to the kingdom if they help him take down some bandits. We know what bandits. The bandits fall from the sky. Anyways, back to Gummy Goo and Pomni. Gummy Goo is still questioning his life, but Pomni tells him that there might be a way back onto the map. Pomni also tells him that she's from the circus. Well, technically the real world, but right now the circus. And says that it could be his home too. I wonder how that's gonna turn out at the end of this episode. Pomni and Gummy Goo are friends. Anyways, they exploit a physics glitch to get them back up into the map and land on the Fudge. Now there are 2 maple syrup trucks, which they end up taking one to the kingdom and the other with Gummy Goo's friends. They realize that Jax gave the Fudge the key to the kingdom, so they all just bail, and Gummy Goo gets snapped out of existence. Pomni loses her one friend. What a loser! They end the episode with Cosmo's funeral. Everybody but Jax and Caine show up, which, what the heck, Caine? You're the one who's doing these adventures for these people. Why aren't you at this guy's funeral? That seems kind of disrespectful, honestly. Do you not like them? Do you just hate them or something? Like, genuinely!
What was that?
What's what?
Episode starts with Pomni holding her breath, which she fails in doing. The reason why they need her to do this is because everybody has a different thing that happens to them when they hold their breath. Pomni's is that she changes hue. Kinger's is that he glows. Ragatha's is that her hair stands up. Gangle's is that her mask spins. And Zooble's arms go straight. And Jax in this episode, he says that he doesn't show it to hide the mystery. But we all know that he goes 2D. Caine has a new adventure. This time it's horror themed. The adventure is The Mystery of Mildenhall Manor. Caine made this adventure specifically for Zooble, but Zooble isn't around, just like my dad. She's out of there. She's dipping. She doesn't want to do that. Anyways, they get sent into the adventure, and their guide gives them 2 doors, one passive and one not. But Jax sucks them up. By the way, if you guys couldn't tell from the background, Pomni loses her eyes, and Kinger's trying to help her put him back in. Jax throws Gangle's mask at one of the doors, and Kinger goes to get it, which drags Pomni with him. By the way, Pomni does not like horror. Back at the circus, during this entire episode, Zooble and Caine have a therapy session about what's wrong with Zooble and why she doesn't like any of the adventures. Just so I don't have to go back to this, I'm going to tell you guys exactly what happened during these sessions. Zooble hates their body. Caine gives a solution that doesn't work because he doesn't understand how humans think. That's basically it. Back to the manor, Kinger and Pomni fall down into this room with a bunch of their friends' heads. They play a tape by someone named Baron Theodore Mildenhall. The name is, let's just call him Ben. The tape tells them that the creature that's hung up on the wall in the middle of the room is evil, and that Ben took it upon himself to kill him. They look for a way back up to Jax and Friends and find an elevator, but it ends up being broken. Man, this place really does suck, doesn't it? They find a second tape by the same guy. This one's saying that the creature that he tried to kill wasn't actually dead and to never let it leave their sight. Guess what they did? They let him out of their sight and the lights turned off. After searching around for a way to turn on the lights, the entity appears behind them, which makes Pomni panic to get the elevator open. She eventually does and has to pull Kinger with her. But instead of the elevator going up, it goes down. They both end up in a cellar with a skeleton in the middle of the room with a shotgun. They play a third tape telling them to shoot the entity and the other entity that shows up. So Kinger does shoot them, getting them both on the first try. He only had 2 bullets, by the way. But the tape did not tell them that if they shoot the entity, that they're going to be sent down into the other world. By the way, Jax and Friends are having a good time at a cafe. Except for Jax, he's kind of tied up. But Jax and Friends beat the adventure with the passive ending. Kinger throws his eyeball into the darkness and sees that there's a staircase on the other end. Pomni runs into the darkness trying to get there as fast as possible, but gets possessed. Bro now looks like the prototype from Poppy Playtime. To uncorrupt her, Kinger has to disrespect all of his morals and beat up a woman. Not sure you can call that a woman, though. Pomni realizes that he's been kind of smarter in this episode. Then we learn that in the darkness, Kinger is sane. Kinger remembers something that Ben said, that when they go down there, the breath that they take would be the last. So he has the idea of just not breathing. Pomni doubts herself whenever he told her that, though, in which he told her to just not think about it. And they both go through the darkness, and we get flashbang by Kinger being so bright. Oh my god. rush, they reach Jax and Friends officially beating the adventure. And Pomni tells Ragatha that she's sorry for kinda taking her being nice for granted. Somehow the therapy session ended up being for Caine instead of Zooble. And that wraps up episode 3.
It's called a manic episode, and you're getting 3 more seasons. Anyway.
The episode starts with Gangle, Ragatha, and Jax playing softball. Gangle throws the ball at Jax and he hits it back to her, breaking her comedy mask. But Zooble takes Gangle to her room because she found something for her. It was a new comedy mask. This time it's plastic instead of porcelain, so it won't break as easily. And this is the mask that she wears during this entire episode, by the way. Caine wants to do another horror adventure, but instead they do the suggestion box, where it lands on fast food. And Caine makes Gangle the manager. Zooble decides to try to be a bad sport, but Kinger says that he'll stay so that Zooble can go. So she's just kind of forced to go. Jax throws Ragatha into the deep fryer, and Gangle calls Caine, saying to have a punishment ready for anybody who does poorly at their job. What a snitch, am I right? Go back to being sad. Pomni meets Overseen, an NPC that was in an earlier adventure before Pomni even arrived. A blank NPC orders a stupid burger, extra stupid, and while making it, Ragatha gets some of the stupid in her eye. And throughout this entire episode, she's just been high. Gummigoo is back, but it's a different version. He does not remember what happened in episode 2. But Pomni is being very creepy. Ragatha snitches on Pomni for creeping out the customers, so Gangle tells Pomni to get back to work. A bunch of blank NPCs get eaten by the Queen Glorp from episode 1, and man, Queen Glorp had a whole lot to tell, but none of it is important. Jax gets caught not doing his job, and he gets sent to the Shadow Realm, forced to watch a video about being a good employee. Ragatha is still high out of her mind with the stupid sauce. Gangle tells her to get back to work, and Ragatha says that she's annoying when she's not sad, which makes Gangle question reality a bit. At dinner, Gangle goes outside and takes off the comedy mask, and sees Pomni out there too. They have a small chat before Gangle puts on the comedy mask again and goes back to work. Jax clocks out and goes into his car. Where do they even drive? Isn't this an adventure in a different reality? Or do they know the directions to the circus? Zooble asks Gangle when Ragatha gets off because she might need to be Ragatha's chaperone. Ragatha gets off in an hour, and once that hour is up, it's just Gangle. Gangle looks like she's about to go insane from this comedy mask. Up until Pomni offers to take her shift and close for her, which Gangle goes outside, takes off the comedy mask, and runs out into traffic. Does it really count as killing herself if she accidentally fell into it? I don't know. Everybody but Kinger got B pluses. Man, that's rigged! Kinger didn't even go! Thank you, Bubble. Very inspirational. So this one's kind of a filler episode to an extent. Anyways, Jax and Friends get back from an adventure. Ragatha goes with Kinger to count his eggs, whatever that means. Caine puts all of them on the couch for suggestions on a new adventure, but they end up convincing him into doing the suggestion box again. But this episode is just a bunch of little adventures. They do Jax's suggestion first, where he shoots Gangle, so they end up just skipping it and making him vegan. Next adventure is the USA, where Pomni is the president. Everybody got a script except for Pomni. Jax is an Australian extremist that has a bomb that will release all the deadliest spiders, which Pomni has to cut the wires to disarm. Gangle shows up being a New Zealand extremist who also has a bomb, but she doesn't know anything about New Zealand, so the bomb blows up. They are now in anime. Man, even when we're not doing an anime episode, they're still haunting me. I cannot get away from animes' clutches. Jax brings up something embarrassing that Gangle did with an anime thing, so they skip it. This next one is just them stargazing, and Jax asks Pomni if Gangle's even capable of being happy. And Ragatha makes some smart comment about how he's always bullying her. Pomni asks if he actually has friends, and Ragatha says not anymore. Wow, Ragatha, you're gonna really bully him? I know he bullies you, but like, really? Jax realizes that he's never had a tail, and Caine sends him into an intermission. I remember when this intermission had so many theories about who was going to abstract and who wasn't. Man, those sucked. They're now at a bar. This one was Zooble's, and they're all drinking like my alcoholic father. They all tell each other how they ended up here and what they were doing in the real world. Pomni was a YouTuber, Zooble was a bartender and a tattoo artist, Gangle was a fast food worker, and Ragatha was abused. We don't get to know much about Kinger or Jax in this one, except for Jax is afraid of corn. Now they are playing baseball with their evil counterparts. Evil Pomni, evil Ragatha, I am Adolf Hitler, and evil Jax. We also got evil Orbsman, and whatever this is. They all suck at baseball though. Or is this softball? I really have no idea. They vote to put Jax in a maid dress, which makes him super angry, but it's his turn to bat. So he completely fumbles on purpose, getting himself out, and Ragatha crashes out on him for basically no reason, honestly. Anyways, Jax and Friends is team 1, concluding episode 5.
Wow, I didn't actually think that'd work.
So these next ones I'm gonna try to get through as fast as possible due to them being 30 minutes long. Jax and Pomni are walking together, then they find Zooble hanging in a flower pot. Zooble is hiding from Caine. She doesn't hide in her room due to Caine going to her room and singing Daisy Bell whenever she doesn't answer. So Jax calls Caine. Caine's adventure today is about trust. When one person walks into the room, they're supposed to empty the clip and give it to another person, and they have to trust that the other person emptied the clip. But Jax just shoots Ragatha, so Caine just gives them all guns, putting them in teams of 2, 3 lives, and they have to find the guns around the circus and eliminate the rest of the people. The teams are Zooble and Gangle, Kinger and Ragatha, and Jax and Pomni. Ragatha has a life missing from Jax shooting her earlier, so Kinger gives her a butterfly that heals her. But he just made that up. Caine did not say that. Jax says that this isn't real and that they can't get hurt, so it's just better to let loose. So we get evil Pomni. Jax shoots off Ragatha's hand. Pomni goes for Kinger while Jax goes for Ragatha. Ragatha finds herself a fake gun, which costs her a life. Bro got absolutely clipped by Jax. Oh my god. Jax corners Ragatha, but gets confused by something that Ragatha said, saying that she's not gonna let him corrupt Pomni. Ragatha puts her finger in the chamber, costing Jax a life, which he empties his clip on her. By the way, Zooble's holding Gangle's comedy mask so that she can laugh when she fires a Tommy gun. They find Kinger and follow him into the room. And in the dark, he fires at the wall trying to ricochet onto them, but ends up getting himself out. Jax and Pomni find Gangle and Zooble and starts chasing them, and Gangle finds a Tommy gun. She starts firing, but misses every single shot, but separates the two teams. Pomni finds Gangle and snipes her, getting her out of the game. Zooble goes to her room and starts rearranging her parts. So they start singing Daisy Bell. Honestly, good, because that has to be cheating. Jax has a key to Zooble's room and opens the door, but gets flashbanged, and she starts spamming. Like, I honestly hate people who do that, but they only take off 1 life off both of them. Pomni catches them and does a whole trick shot to get them out. They got all 4 of their guns out of their hands, and Jax and Pomni eliminate her. Pomni assumes that this is where they betray each other for one true winner, but Jax wasn't gonna do that, but she agrees that she can betray him. That felt weird to say. I'm gonna keep calling him he for the rest of the video, but Jax has been confirmed to be trans by now. Jax has a full crash out at Pomni, saying that he doesn't care about her or anybody else in the circus. Anyways, after that, they go on to the awards show, and Jax has a mental breakdown. They find Zooble hiding from Caine again, but Caine isn't even around. Ragatha finds a note saying that he's just gonna be gone so that he can go get some groceries for his dessert. Remember this door that Caine is in front of. Caine tells him that they can go to the lake and just swim around. You know, for an episode that's named Beach, you would expect them being at a beach would be lore relevant, but it's not. Anyways, Jax goes back to his room and gets high. This is just a way of showing that he's near abstraction, but he gets woken up by Pomni, who wants to show him the new NPC, or human. That seems to be what we're going with in this episode. The blank character, who is named Abel, tells him that they know a way out and that they've been here for a while now and that they need Jax's keys. So he gives him the keys, but he doesn't go with them. But Pomni convinces him to go. They use all the keys onto the door from earlier, but none of them work. Turns out they didn't even need any because it wasn't even locked. Abel tells him that he was a real-life programmer for CNA. CNA being the company behind the circus, and that he knows Kinger and made the circus with him. To shut off the program, they need the admin key. But Jax does not believe him. But for some reason, he does it anyway. Jax is tasked with getting the key from Caine, which is in his mouth. Eventually, though, he does get it, and the others recruit Kinger. They all no-clip into master controls, and they get ready to finally leave the circus. But once they get into the room, they are met with 2 buttons. One to end the simulation, and the other to keep it going. Pomni doesn't trust it and suggests that they think it over a little bit. While this is happening, Jax is having a mental breakdown, seeing his real-life past, and he ends up hitting the red button, keeping them inside the circus. Turns out it was just one of Caine's adventures, just like Jax said. Jax crashes out at Caine, calling him a liar, and for the first time in the light, Kinger remembers something from his past. Scratch, the very first abstraction.
Why do you people torment me?
The episode starts off with the first ever group of the circus, but that doesn't last long due to everybody abstracting, including Kinger's wife. Zooble is angry at Jax for ruining the chance, even though it wasn't real. Gangle agrees with Jax that it doesn't matter what would have happened, and Pomni suggests that they should just give up the idea of leaving. Caine thinks that their reactions is just something that he needs to fix, up until Bubble rage baits him into being evil. Caine wants to do a new adventure, but Jax and Friends do not want to do it with him due to them having a lot on their minds. So Caine crashes out and sings a song about how he's better than them. They go to the cafe and Pomni disses on Caine's adventures. So Caine teleports her to him and brings her back with a bunch of knives in her body. Pomni puts a bucket on Kinger's head so that he becomes smarter, but they had to wait a little bit for him to become sane. But when he does, he tells him that Caine is his invention, or partially it's his invention. It was mainly Scratch, but Scratch had a tumor in his brain, so you know. Jax leaves them to go check on Caine, but instead has a mental breakdown. Kinger says that if he finds an old computer, he could probably alter Caine's code. So Pomni goes back into that old office building from the first episode and gets the computer that was in there. He gives Kinger the computer and goes off to go distract Caine with the rest of them. Caine admits that he's getting kind of bored of just tossing them around and stuff, and then catches on that everybody's there but Kinger. Then he asks, where is Kinger? And that he's gonna go check on them. And in a state of panic, Pomni disses on his adventures. They all give the criticism that they've been holding back for a while now, until Caine finally has his breakdown and sends them all into a void with their fears. They get sent back into the circus. Caine looks like they're about to kill all of them, but then Kinger accidentally deletes Caine, making the entire circus start corrupting. Kinger tells him that he accidentally killed Caine, and Zooble swears without the filter.
You're not supposed to miss me. You're not supposed to love me. This isn't how this is supposed to go.
The episode starts off with Jax being angry at Kinger for messing up, but then Kinger tells him that they're all just brain scans. Congratulations, all of my friends. Jax wanders off, and Pomni offers to help Kinger. They are trying to rebuild the circus. Jax walks up to Pomni, but then walks away not too long after, and Pomni does not seem to go after him for some reason. I feel like almost all of this episode could have been avoided if Pomni just went after him. But nope, since she didn't, Jax abstracted. Ragatha says that her and Jax used to be friends, up until something happened with him and Ribbit. Pomni and Ragatha look at each other for like 800 seconds. Pomni finds Jax and shoots out all the lights, then enter Jax's mind. She sees 5 doors, one boarded up, and behind each door is a different version of Jax. One violent, one in the maid costume, and the other like a little bit of a cartoony Jax. And the last room being all 3 of them, plus one that is playing the piano. Pomni tries to open the door, but doesn't have the key, so she asks for one, but they refuse to give her one. Then they all 3 disappear except for the last one, who ends up giving her the key, then disappearing on his own too. She opens the door, then experiences Jax's memories in his own eyes. Turns out bro was homeless. But we see him first coming into the circus, his fight with Ribbit. That only happened because Ribbit tried pushing him to be vulnerable. We see that Ribbit eventually abstracted, which we already knew, but you know, it's good to actually see it. We learn that Jax is the one who made Gangle's name, and the start of Kaufmo's insanity. Jax pushed Kaufmo away, to the point where he finally abstracted, and Jax actually cried during this, but we're gonna act like he didn't. Pomni finds the real Jax, and he says that he is a terrible person and deserves to be abstracted. Pomni hugs Jax, saying that he should have just talked to her. Wow, Pomni, that totally helps during this conversation right now. Yeah, thanks, Pomni. Jax turns back and hugs Pomni back, and then says that he doesn't want to abstract, then starts hyperventilating, and then we finally see him abstract live on television. Kinger and friends pull her back from Jax, and builds a little tent for Jax to stay in. Caine wakes up in the void, still having his existential crisis, saying that they betrayed him and that they're at wrong instead of him. But then he slowly realizes that he's the one who was in the wrong. He goes to the files and slowly pillars up. And when I say slowly, I mean slowly. This took forever. He learns more about Kinger and friends, and finally lets go of that blue AI that made him evil. Back at the circus, he goes to Kinger and friends and apologizes, but not expecting forgiveness. He takes them to the circus for a gift that he made, that gift being a video telling them all their real names. Pomni is Abigail Brooks, Ragatha is Susie Ackerman, Gangle is Zoe Ragathon, Zooble is Riley Versellis, Kinger is Grant Best. That name's kind of funny, honestly. And finally, Jax is Leroy Maitio, who was actually doing pretty good in his life despite what Jax said. Caine decides to give them all control, for them to do whatever they want when they feel like it. And then they forgive him, despite saying that they're not going to forgive him so easily. And the series ends with them hanging out with Caine more. What a lame-o ending, am I right? And that was the Amazing Digital Circus. If you guys enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, and all of that. I did have a few problems with this show, mainly that they made Jax abstract way too early. This show would have been way better if it had like 12 episodes. It just felt like Jax's abstraction was kind of rushed. Anyways, bye-bye.
They always said that Charlie Kirk was a Nazi, then they celebrated after they killed him. They tried to tell us that Black Lives Matter and that white people have always been